Your cooking oil is poisoning you. Not slowly, not maybe, not in some abstract way that only matters decades from now. Right now, every time you heat that clear, odourless liquid in your pan, you are flooding your body with compounds that trigger inflammation, destroy cellular membranes, and accelerate every chronic disease you have been told to fear. And the worst part is not that it is happening. The worst part is that 2,000 years ago, a civilization that built roads we still drive on, aqueducts that still carry water, and concrete that still stands in the ocean solved this problem completely. They engineered an oil so stable, so nutritious, so perfectly suited to the human body that modern science is only now catching up to what Roman farmers understood by observation and centuries of refinement. So what happened? What did they know that we forgot? And why was it taken from you? Picture the hills outside Venafran in central Italy. Roughly 50 BC, during the last decades of the Roman Republic, the morning sun hits terraced groves of olive trees that have been cultivated on this land for generations. A farmer moves between the rows, selecting fruit by hand at a precise moment of ripeness. Not too green, not too dark, a narrow window that Roman agronomists documented in detail. The olives are carried in woven baskets to a stone press nearby, a trapetum, a milling device so precisely engineered that its stone wheels could crack the olive flesh without crushing the pit. This mattered. The Romans knew, centuries before anyone understood the chemistry, that crushing the pit released bitter compounds and degraded the oil. They designed their equipment to avoid it. The cracked olives were then layered onto stacked fibre mats and pressed, using a massive wooden beam weighted with stones, extracting the oil through pure mechanical pressure. No heat, no chemicals, no solvents, just gravity, stone, and patience. The golden green liquid that flowed out was what Pliny the Elder, writing in the 1st century AD, called the finest oil in the Roman world. Venafran oil was graded, standardized, and shipped across 3 continents. It fed legions. It lit lamps into temples from Britannia to Syria. It was rubbed into the skin of athletes and used by physicians to treat wounds that healed faster than anyone could explain at the time. This was not a quaint village custom. This was an industrial operation refined across centuries, deployed across an empire of 60 million people, and producing an oil so pure that sealed amphorae recovered from Roman shipwrecks have been opened by modern chemists who found the residual compounds still identifiable after 2 millennia. Now open your kitchen cabinet, pick up that bottle of vegetable oil, canola oil or sunflower oil, the one with the clean label and the heart-healthy claim. Read the back. You will find a product that did not exist before the early 20th century. A product that requires factories, chemical solvents, extreme heat and industrial deodorizing just to become something you would not spit out. The process starts with seeds, soybeans, rapeseed, sunflower kernels, cotton seeds that are cleaned and then crushed under mechanical pressure. But here is where it diverges from everything the Romans built. That initial pressing does not get enough oil out to be profitable. So the remaining seed meal is soaked in hexane, a petroleum-derived chemical solvent that strips out every last drop of fat. The hexane is then boiled off, though trace amounts remain. The resulting oil is dark, foul-smelling and packed with impurities, so it is degummed with phosphoric acid, then bleached with clay filters, then deodorized by heating it to temperatures above 200 degrees Celsius, roughly 450 degrees Fahrenheit under vacuum. By the time it reaches your bottle, it has been chemically extracted, acid-treated, bleached, and superheated, and it is sold to you as a health food. That is not food processing. That is chemical engineering designed to make something inedible appear edible. The Romans would not have fed it to their livestock. But here is where it gets worse. The damage is not just in how the oil is made, it is in what the oil becomes inside your body. Modern seed oils are dominated by a fatty acid called linoleic acid, an omega-6 polyunsaturated fat. Your body needs a small amount of omega-6 fats, roughly 2 to 3% of your total calories. That is what humans consumed for most of history. That is what the Roman diet provided. Today, the average person in the industrialized world gets closer to 8 to 10% of their calories from omega-6 linoleic acid, a 3 to 4-fold increase driven almost entirely by the introduction of seed oils into the food supply starting in the early 1900s. Here is why that matters. Omega-6 linoleic acid, when consumed in excess, is converted by your body into a compound called arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid is the raw material your immune system uses to produce inflammatory signaling molecules, prostaglandins, leukotrienes, thromboxanes. Think of it this way. Your immune system is like a fire department. It needs a certain amount of fuel on hand to respond to emergencies. Omega-6 is that fuel, but when you flood the station with 3 to 4 times more fuel than it needs, every small spark becomes a blaze. A minor irritation becomes chronic inflammation. A normal immune response becomes an overreaction. Your joints ache, your skin breaks out, your gut lining deteriorates. Your arteries develop the low-grade chronic inflammation that is now recognized as the primary driver of cardiovascular disease. Not cholesterol, inflammation. And the single largest dietary contributor to excess inflammation in the modern world is the oil you cook with every night. Roman olive oil operated on the exact opposite principle, and the science explains why with stunning clarity. Extra virgin olive oil, the kind the Romans produced by default because they had no technology to adulterate it, is composed primarily of oleic acid, a monounsaturated omega-9 fat. Oleic acid does not feed inflammatory pathways, it does the opposite. Research published in the journal Nutrients in 2019 confirmed that oleic acid actively suppresses the NF-kappa B inflammatory signaling pathway, the master switch your body uses to activate inflammation at the cellular level. Picture NF-kappa B as a thermostat. Oleic acid turns it down, linoleic acid turns it up. Every time you swap olive oil for seed oil, you're reaching for the thermostat and cranking it toward chronic disease. But the Romans did not just produce any olive oil. Their cold-pressed, unrefined method preserved a category of compounds that modern refining destroys entirely: polyphenols. Olive polyphenols, particularly one called oleocanthal, are so powerfully anti-inflammatory that researchers at the Monell Chemical Senses Center discovered it works through the same biochemical mechanism as ibuprofen. The peppery sting you feel at the back of your throat when you taste real, fresh, extra virgin olive oil, that is oleocanthal, activating the same receptor that ibuprofen targets. The Romans consumed an oil that was, in a measurable pharmacological sense, a daily anti-inflammatory medicine built into every meal. And here is the part that should make you angry. Modern industrial refining, the bleaching, the deodorizing, the high-heat processing strips these polyphenols out completely. Even most commercial olive oils sold today have been refined to the point where oleocanthal and its companion compounds are reduced to negligible levels. You are paying for the name on the bottle while the substance that made it valuable has been removed. The archaeological evidence makes the Roman achievement even more remarkable. Excavations at Roman olive oil production sites across North Africa, Spain and Italy have revealed facilities operating at an enormous scale. The site at Volubilis in modern-day Morocco, a Roman provincial city, contained dozens of olive presses producing oil that was shipped in standardized clay amphorae. The Monte Testaccio in Rome, an artificial hill made entirely of broken oil amphorae, stands over 35 meters tall and contains the fragments of an estimated 53 million containers, each one stamped with the origin, the producer, the weight, and the grade of the oil inside. This was not artisanal. This was a quality-controlled, traceable, empire-wide. A wide supply chain that would rival modern logistics. Modern laboratory analysis of residues found in these amphorae, published in the Journal of Archaeological Science, confirmed the presence of the same polyphenol compounds, including oleocanthal and hydroxytyrosol, that modern research identifies as the active health-promoting agents in high-quality olive oil. The Romans engineered a system that preserved these compounds from grove to table across thousands of miles and months of transport. The modern food industry engineered a system that destroys them before the bottle reaches the shelf. If this information is opening your eyes to something you did not know before, share this with someone you care about. This is knowledge that was buried, and the more people who see it, the harder it becomes to bury again. So why did we abandon it? The answer, as always, is profit. In the late 19th century, industrial processing technology made it possible to extract oil from seeds that had never been used as food sources: cotton seeds, soybeans, rapeseed. These crops were cheap, grew fast, and produced oil in enormous quantities. But the oil was inedible in its natural state. It smelled terrible, tasted worse, and went rancid quickly. The chemical refining process was developed not to improve the oil, but to disguise it. Procter & Gamble introduced Crisco in 1911, a hydrogenated cottonseed oil marketed as a modern, clean alternative to animal fats. The marketing worked. By mid-century, seed oils had displaced traditional fats, including olive oil, across most of the Western diet. The industry spent decades funding research that blamed saturated fat and cholesterol for heart disease, while quietly ignoring the mounting evidence that their omega-6 laden oils were driving the very inflammation responsible for arterial damage. A 2016 reanalysis of the Minnesota coronary experiment, a major trial from the 1960s and 70s, found that participants who replaced saturated fat with omega-6 seed oils had lower cholesterol but higher mortality. The original researchers never published the full results. They sat in a basement for 40 years. The data showed that the product the industry told you was saving your heart was associated with a greater risk of death. They knew, they buried it, and they kept selling. Here is what you can do starting today. First, the simplest change. Replace every seed oil in your kitchen, canola, vegetable, sunflower, soybean, grapeseed, with a single bottle of genuine extra virgin olive oil. Look for oil that lists a harvest date on the label, not just an expiration date. Look for a specific region of origin, not just a country. Look for a dark glass bottle, because light degrades polyphenols. If it costs less than $10 for a large bottle, it is almost certainly blended, diluted, or refined, and you are paying for a label, not for the compound that matters. Second, start reading ingredient lists on every packaged food you buy. Seed oils are in bread, crackers, salad dressings, sauces, frozen meals, restaurant fryers, and nearly every processed food on the shelf. You cannot avoid what you cannot see, and the industry is counting on you not looking. Third, if you want to go further, seek out oil from producers who publish independent lab results showing polyphenol content. High polyphenol olive oil, the kind closest to what a Roman farmer in Venafran would recognize, will have oleocanthal levels above 250 milligrams per kilogram. You will know it when you taste it. It will sting the back of your throat. That sting is not a flaw. It is the medicine. 2,000 years ago, a farmer on a sunlit hillside in Italy pressed olives between stones and produced an oil that fed an empire, healed wounds, and reduced inflammation through a mechanism that modern pharmacology did not identify until 2005. That oil required no factories, no solvents, no bleaching, and no deodorizing. It required patience, craftsmanship, and a civilization that valued what worked over what was cheapest. Everything you need to reclaim that knowledge is available to you right now. The oil still exists, the trees still grow, the science has confirmed what the Romans knew by instinct and observation. Your cooking oil is not a neutral ingredient. It is either medicine or poison, depending on who made it and how. The Romans chose medicine. The industry chose profit. Now you get to choose for yourself.